Alright, this is a tutorial in Adobe Photoshop on how to give your picture like more of a retro feel by changing the colors, adding border, etc. So this is my picture. I'm just going to use like a picture of a pile of junk almost. So if you want to use your pictures from the junk photos or when we took them in the black box or up in the heating room where there's different valves and things like that, those work great. Otherwise you could do it just about any photograph. So I'm going to start by taking my photograph, and I need to adjust the tones first. So I'm going to go down to my adjustment layer menu here and go to levels. I'm first going to increase my midtones so they're a little bit brighter. Original, that's what I'm going to move it to. And I'm going to increase my highlights to kind of blow them out a little bit. Alright, so they're extremely white. The next technique is with color. So you can do it one of two ways. So you're probably going to pause it and stop and rewind it and figure out which two techniques, or which one of the two techniques you want to do. So the first technique, you adjust it in levels. So you go to red, and you can go ahead and grab the midtones here and make them more cyan or more magenta. It kind of depends on your picture. So I'm going to go the cyan route here. And then I'm going to go to greens and adjust the midtones again, figuring out what direction I want to go, kind of like this way. And then we go blues. And the same thing, midtones, kind of tweak it whatever way. I'm going to go this way a little bit. Get some more blues in the picture. Alright. Next, you need to adjust the saturation. So we go down here to this window, the adjustment layer window, and go to hue saturation. Now in the hue saturation window, I'm going to pick the colors. I want to adjust the intensity of the colors. So I'm going to go to reds so I can make my boxes a little bit brighter. So I'm going to increase my saturation there a little bit. And then that's good for me. You can go to any one of these, or you can go to master and increase the saturation via master too. That works as well. Alright, so that's one technique to adjust the colors. So let's hide those. And here's my original image again. On the second technique, you again start out with levels. You increase the midtones, same way as before. Increase the highlights, again same as before, but this time instead of using levels, you're going to use curves. So you go down to the black adjustment layer menu again and go to curves. Now this time you're going to go to reds and click and drag in this region and drag it way up here, completely distorting your image. Go down to blues, and this time you're going to drag them way down here. Get again completely kind of tweaking the image. Alright, next I need to close that, and I need to hit Control. Alright, so inside my curves menu, after I've increased the reds up here and the blues down here, I want to hit Control I. Oops, let's close that. And let's hit Control on your mask, of course. Hit Control I, and it gets rid of your color adjustments completely. Now with your paintbrush, white. Sorry about that. So you go to your paintbrush, white, fuzzy tip brush, and then something like the 30s would work, and probably bigger than that. So you increase the size of your brush, and you're slowly just going to click. Now each click is going to make your mask whiter and whiter, and therefore let your colors that you tweaked before kind of show through. So this is kind of an interesting way to kind of tweak some of the colors that way, just like kind of on the edge a little bit sometimes. That's one way to do it, and that's how you do the second way for doing colors. So let's go hide those two, and let's go to my first two effects. We'll go with this direction for now. The second technique, after adjusting the colors, whatever way you decide, is blurring. And again, there's two different ways to blur. So you take your original image here, and I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to call this Blur Technique 1. And with the Blur Technique 1, you go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and you increase or decrease the blur, just something in this range. Mine gets 4 pixels, but it should be whatever for yours. So that's the original you can see here, and it's blurred. So something in this range, hit OK. Now next you're going to combine these two layers. So you're going to change the blending mode to lighten, and that will kind of combine the two and kind of give it a soft glow. So original kind of just adds little halo glow things to it. and then turn down the opacity a little bit just so it's not so strong. And again, it kind of depends on the picture. Cameras back in the day didn't have as great of a focus as they do today. That's the point of this technique. So that's blur technique 1. The second blur technique is you drag your original to the new layer button. Again, just like before. Call this blur technique 2. Again, you go up to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Same effect works, about 4 pixels for this technique. Again, hit OK. And now this time, you're going to make a mask on that layer. And on the mask, you hit Control I. That will turn your entire mask black and therefore get rid of your blur over here. So this time you can go with your paintbrush, white, okay, fuzzy head brush, low opacity, and this time you can click along the edge of your picture, just like you did with the other color technique, but this time instead of letting the color show through, you're letting part of your blurry image show through. Okay, this is a large image, so it takes some time, but you can see over here, it's slowly getting whiter and whiter on the edge of my mask, and therefore the edges of my picture are becoming blurry and the inside is focused. You can kind of see on these two guys right here. One's blurry, one's much more focused. Okay, so you can do either or blur technique, whatever way you like. I'm going to leave the second technique for blur. All right, the fourth step is, required step is you need to add a border. So I'm going to go to my class files folder, then digital photo 2, and go down to tutorials. From tutorials, I'm going to go to Polaroid, and then I have 5 different borders, 5 different potential borders. So I'm going to click on, let's drag number 4 in, and then I'm going to go ahead and stretch out to fit my entire picture. Hit enter, and now I have my border on there, but obviously you can't see it. So to create a white border, all you do is change normal to lighten. And the inside becomes clear, and now I have a white border on my picture. Okay, every border is a little different, so try a couple different borders, see how it looks. If you don't like the white border, you can do a black border. To do a black border, undo the blending mode change, and just right-click on your layer and go to rasterize. You got to right-click on the side over here, and then go to rasterize. Once it's been rasterized, you're going to invert the colors. So you go to Image, Adjustments, Invert. Now we'll switch the black and the whites. Now to get rid of the white, all you do is go to Normal, and this time change your blending mode to Multiply, and that will make it clear. All right, so you can add some type of different border that way. All right, after that, there's 2 different optional techniques. One's a vignette. Sorry about that. So to make a new vignette, you just make a new layer. I'm going to call it vignette. Vignettes only work really with a black bordered picture. So paintbrush, black, low opacity again, and on my new vignette layer, I'm just going to slowly click, put that beneath my Polaroid layer. I slowly click to kind of darken the edges of my picture. If you want, you can always do this on top, so the color effects you created earlier don't affect it. So you can kind of add kind of like a dark halo around your picture. But it all depends on your border. So like with this border, for example, I really don't like it. So I'm going to go back in, I'm going to drag, say, this guy in. I'm going to go stretch it out real quick. Double click over here to rasterize it. Whoops. Right click to rasterize it. I then go up to Image Invert, Image Adjustments Invert to get it black, and then I change the blending mode to Multiply. And then we hide the original border. Okay, so I like this border a lot better, so I can go ahead and delete that guy. But here's my new border, here's my vignette like I was talking about. It's up to you if you want to add the kind of blackish halo. Again, that's optional. Another optional technique is go to Google. I just searched rust textures. You can search concrete textures if you want. Find a good rust picture. Find a big image, right click, copy it. In Photoshop, you go to Edit Paste, and there's your rust picture. Now we want to change the blending mode. Now, Warren, none of these effects at 100% opacity you're probably going to like, so there's Multiply, color burn, linear. You just kind of scroll through them and see what effects are there. So let's say color burn was kind of interesting, but it's way too strong. Turn the opacity down where it's just noticeable. You don't want it a ton there. You want just like little bitty specks. So that's how it looks without the texture. That's how it looks with the texture. Just a little bit of grain, a little bit of scratches, things like that. That's what you're looking for on your picture. So the vignette is totally optional. It's up to you if you don't want to do the vignette. And then the texture, again, is optional. It's up to you. But definitely change the opacity of your texture. You won't like it at 100%. All right. So those are your techniques. Obviously, you all need to adjust the colors no matter what technique you do. You all need to give it a blur, again, with whatever technique you like. You all need to add a border to it, whether it's white or it's black, it's up to you. And then there's 5 different border options in there. Try a couple different borders. And then the last 2 techniques, which are texture and vignette, are totally optional. So go ahead and choose some pictures from any pictures you've taken this semester and create some different retro style